podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
All right, Tom, we're here doing, I guess, a sort of bonus extra pod. We're going to cover the tender offer doc, the Q1 financials, and take in a bunch of listener questions, of which we had many. First, how are you doing?
Yeah, really good, thank you. It's been a while. Been away on my jollies for a little bit, but yeah, back to reality now, which is less than fun. I managed to catch most of the United games while I was away, though there was a couple that started at 4 and I just decided not to watch those live, but I did end up watching them. I was the Forest game that was like the 4 o'clock and I watched it on repeat. It's like, what am I doing to myself here? But yeah. It was great, to be honest. How are you?
You were in India and Australia?
Yes. India, I think there was only one game while I was there. Australia, there was a few because I went like the Christmas, New Year period, but it was great. The weather was lovely. And then, coming back to Britain with that weather. I mean, it's amazing how many foreign people live in Sydney, like English, like Far Eastern, Irish, so many European, so many Indian people. And it's like, no wonder everyone lives here because it's so lovely. And also the weather's so amazing. And then you come back to the UK and it's like, I can see the appeal of why people move over there. It's just,
maybe you should do it.
Weather more than anything, it's better.
My dad and my sister live out in Sydney, so
my
dad's just outside and sister in right in town, but
and it is really easy if you're under 35. If you're from the UK as well, you can get a 3-year visa.
Right.
All you have to do is just work at a coffee shop or a place in retail for those 3 years, and you get a 3-year stay, which is pretty lovely.
Very nice. Some of us on this podcast are not under 35, so
sorry.
I will let listeners guess which one. So, yes, I think my chances of getting on that visa situation are gone, but there you go. Have you been catching any of AFCON?
Yeah, a bit. So I can't say I've been watching every single game, but it has been a really interesting tournament. Like how open it is. I can't remember an AFCON being this open where so many of the best teams in the first round have lost or drawn or come very close to losing or drawing games, like Egypt scoring a last-minute equaliser in their first game to save embarrassment, and then Ghana losing. Like Nigeria have struggled in the start, and like I think Morocco were worthy winners, like big winners. But like it's amazing. Cape Verde went through today, like courtesy of the Bebe screen. It's like
Bebe.
It's like a poor man's Ronaldo versus Arsenal, isn't it? But I think Cape Verde are now through. Like it is kind of crazy how competitive that tournament is.
Yeah, the chaos levels in AFCON do seem higher than in other tournaments, or maybe it's just that it is so open and the standards are pretty even across the continent. So I should have someone from ACL, the sports network, on shortly. I've had COVID, so I meant to sort that one out earlier. But I've been lying on the sofa feeling sorry for myself, as you do.
Why not?
Yeah, I did manage to read the financials and the tender offer doc, so maybe we'll go through those and take some questions and talk a little bit about transfers, because there's been some movement, not much, but a little bit of movement. So where should we start? You want to do the tender offer or the Q1 financials? Which nerdy stuff?
Let's go.
Excites you
for
most?
The tender offer. This is
right.
Your bag, isn't it?
It's
bag of treats.
It was good. It was good. Suits you. I do like this stuff. I mean, fortunately, I have a fair amount of experience of reading these SEC docs, so I'm not a contract lawyer, but my line of work has taken me into reading these a fair bit. So it was kind of interesting because quite a lot of stuff came out of this one. There was a narrative around the bid process, which I guess we've done for transparency reasons. You don't actually get this in every tender offer, but it gave some colour on the timeline around the bid process. And especially, I think this is for A-class shareholders to ensure that everyone feels comfortable that everyone got the same offer. And it's very, very clear from this document that the Glazer family were very concerned right from the beginning about ensuring that A and B class shares were treated equally when it came to purchasing. So there was, if you read through the doc, it's clear that both bidder A, that's Sheikh Jassim and the Qataris, and Ratcliffe and Ineos and Trawlers were interested in the B-class shares of the Glazer family more than the A-class shares, which are on the public stock exchange. So that's the one thing. There was an attempt by both parties to just buy out those first, and it's clear in the document that is the case. And then the other stuff that's super interesting is just how much Ratcliffe... So there's 4 separate bids from Ratcliffe over the period. There's a lot of negotiation in between, clearly. And how much it changed. So he started out just bidding for the Glazer family shares, which was 69% of the club, just the B shares, which are 90% of the voting power, and offering 22 a share. And he's obviously gone up to 25% of B shares, 25% of A shares at 33. So there's quite a uplift, 50% uplift in the price per share, and obviously a completely different deal structure that we've ended up with than was started, and some of that was reported publicly, wasn't it? At least the idea that Ineos were just wanting to bid for the Glazer shares and not trying to buy the club out fully, which was kind of interesting, I thought. Mm-hmm. So there's that piece. And then I guess the other really super interesting bit was around the Qataris, and this has been, or bidder A, this has been sort of widely mocked, I think, or reported, the fact that on 3 separate occasions they've been asked to provide proof of funds and failed to do so. Now, there's been some sort of like off-the-record briefing with the Qataris' favourite journalist, Ben Jacobs. And I don't know whether Sky Cavi has come out with anything because he's the other favourite journalist. I didn't see. Maybe he's hiding his tail between his legs, as he should do. But, they've come out and pushed back on this. Have to say, as has been widely commented by some people who understand these things as well, that the idea that 2 sets of investment bankers and 2 sets of lawyers would lie in an SEC document for what purpose, I don't know, and conspire together to do it is absolutely fucking preposterous. Like, it's just not going to happen. You face like both financial and criminal penalties and losing your license to practice law. It's just nonsense. So I'm just going to ignore completely the spin that's coming out. But I don't know. I'll stop talking and let you have some thoughts here. But it's just so odd, isn't it? The way the PR and the actual bid process, especially around the Qataris, doesn't match up.
Yeah, you say let me have some thoughts, but I don't know what my thoughts are because it's so baffling, it's so confusing. I know a couple of people have asked questions like, "What in the hell were Qatar doing?" along the lines of that. I don't know enough about this thing, and I don't know enough about like the whole Qatari state project and kind of what goes in the minds of people who live there and work there, and Sheikh Jassim and the people behind it. So I don't understand what they were doing. If they didn't have the money, like what are they doing? Like, I guess in some respects you can weaponize the fans and you can get, and in the way that they did, they had United fans across the globe with Qatar flags in their bio, and maybe they think we can get all these people on board. They can kind of boost the profile again of Qatar for a little while. We can get into this huge news story and be a focus of it, and never actually plan on potentially taking over the club. And it's great publicity for United, and then for Qatar, and then people will kind of just almost like in the same way as David Brent goes, they won't remember. And when that story comes out, then people aren't. I mean, as stories like this always happen, like, people always remember the first bit of news. They don't actually read up on the second bit of news. So I guess in a way it will give you more publicity, good publicity, and very little bad publicity. But I can't really understand like why you would do that. Like if you never had any intention of buying the club and you were the biggest, well, you were saying you were the biggest bidder, what are you doing? And like you say, you can't even spin this because it's not just a thing like you can say, oh yeah, the Glazers were being dickheads or whatever. Like it's a legal thing. Like it's like you say, it's also like two outside investment agencies who are saying this. It's not just spin. It can't just be spin. Like
right.
It's really difficult to decipher what they were doing in this scenario. Like if they were just trying to get publicity for Qatar or for Sheikh Jassim, I can't imagine like Sheikh Jassim's like what's he doing it for like personal reasons.
It seems so odd.
So odd.
Yeah, oh, well, so T2 the Lizzo on Twitter says, what in the hell were Qatar doing briefing the press for months that they were no longer serious, after they were no longer serious candidates? Are we seeing a new type of sports washing that doesn't require spending money? Is United washing the new thing, or did United invent it? And I guess it feels like conspiracy theory thinking, doesn't it? This kind of angle, but it's just so weird. So the last bid from the Qataris came in October. And after that, we were still getting press in Bloomberg. Yeah. And I remember on Twitter, not to go, oh, I told you so, a Bloomberg piece came out saying United have sealed this bid. Right? So the Qataris have sealed this bid, and it was single-sourced, and it was very un-Bloomberg-like. And I pushed back on Twitter and said, I think this is weak as fuck. And I had a whole bunch of people go, you don't know what you're talking about. and not like, I'm not being, oh, I told you so. I just didn't believe the single sourcing in that story. I didn't believe it was credible, and it read like all the other PR briefings that were single-sourced as well, and I think that's almost certainly what happened. So some people, journalists who I think honestly should know better, were quite happy to get on the phone to Qatar's London-based PR firm, so they have several for the World Cup, and I assume they retain them for this bid process as well, or maybe they got one of the financial PR firms, and take briefings verbatim. And Ben Jacobs, I know I've mentioned him a few times now, did this the other day where he just quotes it verbatim, and I pushed back to him as well. I said, you should not do this, right? It's your job as a journalist to cut through the bullshit and give us what we think is a story, not just copy-paste what they've told you and say, oh, well, they deserve a say. Because have we learned nothing from Brexit and from Trump and all the other grifters out there that not all information is equal, right? You don't go... Trump says the sky is green, everyone else says it's blue, and the headline being there's a disagreement between people about what colour the sky is, right? That's what he's doing there. And I just think it's ridiculous. And not everyone is high information on this. Not everyone reads into the documents. And so do the work for them. That's your job as a journalist. And I think not doing that is failing people. And yeah, sorry, I'm getting on a rant there, but I just think some of the reporting around this has been really crap. And we know it, and they should look at this and be embarrassed about their reporting because they've single sourced stuff for months. You also wonder how much money is being passed handers as well, really. Like that is, I guess, conspiratorial thinking because there's no evidence to what I've just said. But I mean, yeah, I'd just put that out there. Hey, we've got a very large United fan channel. Dude who's from round your way. He is, I forgot about that. Who got on the Qatar train in a really big way, and I'd heard from other sources that he has not only had support from within the club for doing that from some people, but may well be financially compensated. I don't know that for sure, so actually, given where I live, First Amendment rights, I can say whatever the fuck I like. Within bounds. I couldn't say that he's a nonce, so I definitely wouldn't say that. But I can say I suspect he's been paid. Anyway, sorry to get on that one. And then the other one that's like been really weird is Rio, who has obviously been sort of pushing the agenda. He is a paid ambassador for Qatar, so for Qatari travel and tourism, and given the nature of the country, it's pretty much a government agency. But then he put out this video, if you remember, a few months back, where he said, "I've heard that it's been sealed." Who did he hear that from? That he was so confident to put that out. And this is the weird stuff about all of this. Why? And the other thing I should say, and we've got a few questions here. So, Canton Collars, friend of the show, I think Larry on Twitter, you may know him. Now that we know that Jessim was a fraud, do we owe the despotic human rights violating state that is Qatar an apology? See, this is the thing. I was so convinced. I had done my homework on this one, right? I spoke to some people, both one on the record and a few off the record, about the nature of politics in Qatar. And what I was told is, given that this was, Qatari economy is about 200 billion annually. So this is $5 to $6, that is, $5 to $6 billion. It's come out about 5.5, hasn't it? So this is, a couple of percent of GDP. Like, I was told that there's no way a transaction of that size would happen without the implicit go ahead from the emir, right? That it would have to go. And given that, Jessim is on the inner circle, very much on the inner circle, then this was given the okay by the emir. Now, if that's true, why didn't they, quote unquote, blow everyone out of the water? It's just like, it's not like the Qatari investment fund can't afford this. They definitely can. So it's so odd.
Mm-hmm. I think the other question that kind of is also in my mind is, what were they maybe doing it to stop other states taking an interest? Like, were they thinking, I don't know, it was maybe Saudi were never going to do it because they've got Newcastle, but maybe like one of the other Gulf states were potentially interested, and Qatar were like, how about if we pretend to do this and we're saying we're going to blow that out of the water, we're going to just put a massive bid in, or pretend we're going to put a massive bid in, then no other state's going to kind of compete against us because they think, oh yeah, Qatar are kind of the head of the game here. Because the thing is that no one else was interested. No one else said they were interested apart from Ratcliffe. It was always a 2-horse race. There was no other horses involved in this. So
it's certainly after he got
strange
through.
Thing
Yeah,
for me.
sorry to butt in there. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, there were 170 something expressions of interest, and 29 people got to the first phase of asking for details on the bidding. I forget exactly how it's phrased in the tender doc now, but when we got down to actual formal bids, there were only 2. So I think there were 7 who got access to the data room, and they were private equity funds, and probably some of the names that we'd heard, like Elliott and a few other private equity firms that were going to do what's called structured debt, so debt to equity. But yeah, really 2 serious bidders all along, and as we now know, really only one serious bidder. Yeah. So, and that's the amazing thing. We had over a year of this, and it got to the point after 13 months of going through this that Ratcliffe gave an ultimatum and said, unless you do this by Christmas Day, I'm out. Right down to the wire. Now, I don't know how serious that was or just brinkmanship, but it seems like they got completely pissed off. And there were a few little things that got changed right at the end. Minor details that aren't worth discussing too much, I think. But yeah. Anyway, so I mean, it's good fun colour, isn't it? But what we've ended up with, and given the Ratcliffe tour to Old Trafford recently, he went to the game against Spurs, and he's met with several fan groups. I mean, they're pulling off the PR thing very well. I mean, certainly, so we're going from a low base, right? Joel Glazer spoke at one fans forum in 18 years or whatever.
I once saw when I was a season ticket holder, when I was about 16, I once saw Joel Glazer in the club shop. It was really weird. I was like, why are you here? I actually spoke to him for a little bit because, I don't know, it was like arrogance of youth type of thing. I just went over to him and spoke to him. I was like, do you come to many games here? It's like, I haven't been for such a long time. I was like, in my head, I was like, even like being young, I was like, I know you're not liked here, so what are you doing? But that must have been like one of the few times he was actually there. Yeah. Anyway, segue.
Tom, you spoke to Joel Glazer and you didn't have a shot at him.
I can't.
I mean, at least a little low blow.
There was a few low blows in there, but I wasn't rude. I'm not a confrontational chap, especially back then. I didn't have the stones for it.
I'd have got the rage. I'm not confrontational until like the Hulk thing flicks in my brain, and then I get very confrontational.
But that's why I was kind of like so like surprised about, because I was like, surely there's like people out like in this shop now who are like, because I was in there because it was freezing cold. It was like November or whatever. And then sometimes you used to wander around there because I was too young to drink. I was like, just wander around there to keep warm for a bit. And I was like, surely there are people in here a lot more confrontational than me who are going to go and confront you. It's very odd. But yeah, I'm not that type of guy, I'm afraid. Sorry. Apologies to all.
I'm old enough that they didn't really do any IDing when I was a teenager going on the bus around the country to watch United games. So yeah, I'd be going into the pub age. I can't remember how young I was when I first started going on that bus, but yes, pretty young. And yeah, no one ever stopped. I was also quite tall for my age, so I think I probably looked 18.
Yeah, I look like a child. Still do.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say. But, so you got a new haircut though. It's a bit curlier on.
It was curly for the last one, but
yeah, it was. Yeah.
I did it I did like a lot of Aussies. I don't know how many Aussies listen to this show, but so many Aussies have a perm. So I thought if I get one,
you fit in.
Yeah, look like less of an outsider. But they always do it with the. They have so many mullets in Australia. So many mullets, so many moustaches. I think Adam Zampa's one of the first I remember having one, but yeah. But I kind of.
Well, you went around for Merv Hughes.
Well, that's true.
So.
The next stage is the mullet perm, but yeah, that's a bit of time away, I think.
Oh, I think you should do it.
I think so. Why not? And also
mullet
move
perm
to Sydney.
And a tash.
So. Yeah.
Yeah. Get yourself a giant pot belly and you'll be able to take up cricket.
I feel like it's a bit like a cultural appropriation a little bit, but well.
It's probably all right.
Yeah.
So. All right. That's Ratcliffe and the bid process. There's a few questions about how do we feel about this now. And we'll get to some of these in a bit, but I feel pretty good at this stage. I mean, obviously time is going to tell what exactly they can do given what we're going to talk about next, which is the financials, because this is going to hamstring it a lot. But the Ineos crew taking over the sporting department at some point, I mean, already doing their review apparently with Brailsford. Then at some point we'll get, I imagine, a new sporting director, and then the CEO is slightly different. So because that'll be the PLC board, so the Glazers have a majority say there.
I think
all right.
I think it's one of the most exciting times in the last 15 years or so, to be honest. Like, I know it's not everything everyone wanted. You obviously all wanted the Glazers to get out of the club, but like still it's someone coming in with previous experience in a top league, kind of knowing what they're doing. Like Nice haven't been the best over the past few years, but they're doing really well this season. So like it is really exciting. Like, I don't feel like there's that much excitement surrounding the club, and maybe that's because everyone's just turned into apathy and everyone wanted a full sale. But still, like it is an exciting time. Like if we can't, like I say, if we can't, we haven't had much to be excited about over the last 15 years. So it's like a glimmer of hope for me. I feel like this is a glimmer of hope, and maybe it could be a lot more than that. But yeah, I guess time will tell. But I think it is genuinely exciting.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. All right, Q1 financials. I'll just pull it up just in case I have to reference any of it. But I mean, like the good news. I mean, good news depends on who you are, I suppose. But the good news is it's record quarterly revenues. This is just Q1, so it's June to September, and record quarterly revenues. A big boost from matchday incomes. Obviously, Champions League has factored into that. At least a couple of early rounds of the Champions League. But also both broadcasting, which will be Champions League again, and commercial has had a big uptick. So it's 13% year-over-year growth in the quarterly top-line revenue. So that's the good news. Bad news is there's an almost equal increase in costs. And factored in, so not only just on the cost side, but also unfavourable foreign exchange has increased United's financing costs quite a bit. So it's normally about 20 million or so. United's debt's in dollars and revenues predominantly in pounds, obviously, and that has gone up. So all these things together, rising costs, rising financing costs, mean United actually turned a profit into a loss. And so that's not great. So United actually made a loss over this quarter, added to the loss over the previous 2 years, and you're looking at actually more than £200 million worth of losses over that period, which is not awesome when we get down to financial fair play, right, or PSR, profit and sustainability regulations. That said, I know there's been a bit of commentary around this saying that maybe United are pushing against the edge of PSR, and could obviously Forest and Everton have been charged just in the past week or so. I suspect not. So United can lose 105 million over a 3-year rolling period, and owners can put in 90 million of equity or do other sources. What has tended to happen with United's other sources, it's revolving debt, which we'll get to. The owners don't put money into this club, surprisingly. Ratcliffe obviously is. This has come after that. So I think United are all right, because I think there's enough deductions that they'll be able to find for infrastructure costs, women's teams, youth development, foundational work, all of that kind of stuff. I think they're probably all right, but still, it will be tight, I'm sure. People will be working it out, and the club seem very confident that they're going to meet the regulations. So that's the kind of top line. The other top line piece is that the debt is just astronomically huge. So it's 500-something million pounds of primary sort of debt that's never gone down really materially over the last 18 years. About 200 million of revolving credit facility, so the credit card basically, and 364 million of outstanding transfer payments. And you're like looking at the picture, you go, where the fuck's that gone? Yeah. So yeah, United about just shy of 1.2 billion pounds in debt. It's about the same as Tottenham's, except they got a brand spanking new stadium for it.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? When you look at like someone like Tottenham or other people that are in debt, that like you think, what is there to show for it? And there isn't anything really. There's a creaky old stadium. There's a creaky old football team. There's a almost out the door manager. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely nothing to show for it. 940 million pounds of cumulative interest payments since the Glazers took over, and then obviously there's a whole bunch on top of that of like management fees that they really enjoyed taking in the early days, financing and refinancing costs, which has happened periodically over time, bond issue, conversion to debt, so on, refinancing. And by the way, when you think about it like that, Glazers are very lucky that money has basically been free for the last 10 years. And then obviously dividends that they've taken out. I mean, it's just an astronomical amount of money that has just disappeared out of the club since the Glazers took over, and we're still 1.2 billion in debt. And they're going to make a massive profit on the money that they never invested in the first place, because it was predominantly debt. I don't know how they pulled this off, but they pulled it off. I mean, you can say they were smart, but I don't know. They got lucky on so many occasions with the massive increase in broadcasting revenue during their time, which they cannot have predicted. They did increase commercial rights, but so is all of United's rivals. So I've never really bought into this theory that there were some kind of geniuses on this, because every single large club across Europe has done the same thing. United were maybe a bit earlier, but not much really. So yeah, they got so lucky, the Glazers, and just to put it in perspective, Joel Glazer just walked away with 180 million to sell his A shares. Just Joel, who you're best buddies with, we now discover.
I think there's actually a photo of me with him. I think my dad took.
Oh no!
I think to me as well, it's the shamelessness.
You need to send that to me so I can put it, name and shame you on Twitter.
You will be able to see how much of a kid I look. I might have been even younger than 16, to be honest. But it's the shamelessness of it as well. The whole thing. Like I think a lot of football chairmen and football owners do have like a shamelessness to them, but a lot of them almost self-combust after a while. Like the pressure of the hate from the crowd and the fans gets way too much that they either blow up the football club or they blow up themselves and get out of there. But the I guess the bulletproof nature of the Glazers is almost unique. Their shamelessness is unique in that respect, that they, no matter how much pressure and how much hate that they got from the United fans, they just kept going in silent shamelessness. And they still got support from some talking heads on the likes of Sky, the likes of especially TalkSport, for what they were doing. Oh, they were still giving money to the transfer policy. And that silence left a void which should have been filled by proper punditry and proper journalism to really tell the story of what was happening at Man United. But for so many years it didn't. That vacuum was filled by some talking heads who were telling the right story on some certain channels, but so much of it was told by these anyone but United kind of people who were saying, yeah, they've not done horrendously for United. Look at the money they've spent, look at the personnel they've brought in and all that kind of jazz. And I think that's, if you're going to talk about impressiveness, that's the only thing that's impressive, I think, about their whole tenure as United owners is how shameless they were and how they were able to maintain this 18 years of just a vampirish 18 years essentially.
Well, I mean, I don't half get the feeling that if they hadn't lucked into this, because Malcolm was the successful business person, not his devil's spawn. If they hadn't lucked into this, they'd just be some kind of grifters, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
You know, they'd be on the circuit.
Shadowy grifters, in the background, kind of just.
Yeah, I mean,
bleaching.
maybe they wouldn't be good enough talkers and stuff like that to do the sort of right wing YouTube grifty thing, but they might well be in those circles. Anyway, I mean, as we know, they raise money for Trump. I'm not making party political statement here, really, although I never felt like I didn't have the room to do that on this show anyway. But they raised money for Trump. We know that, and I believe they also raised money for Likud, so it's Netanyahu's party in Israel. So there's two sort of hard right of a similar style leaders there that their party they're happy to raise money for. So this is completely shameless, these people, and they've done immense damage to one of the important cultural institutions. And I think if it wasn't for the fact that football fandom is so tribal, and it's taken all of this time for a government of the day to start thinking about regulation of football, and it still hasn't come in, by the way. They haven't published a white paper yet, the government. If it wasn't for the tribal nature of fandom, I think there would have been more commentary around the damage they've done. It took a very long time. It took a very long time even for Gary Neville. He suddenly found Jesus, didn't he?
Yeah,
in the last couple of years. But before this, he was silent as fuck.
Yeah.
And I haven't forgiven him for that. Great player. Took him way, way too long to start making comments about the damage that these owners are causing.
Yeah.
Suspiciously long,
Yeah, that's the right phrase. The tribal nature is also so important. It's so childish and infantile the way that the football media is run in this country, that people of ex-Liverpool nature or Liverpool fan or just anyone, to be honest, who wasn't a ex-United player, and to be honest, like you say, the ex-United players also weren't forthcoming with their Glazer criticism, would just do anything and will do anything to just poke the knife into United, despite what they were doing, like you say, to a great cultural institution. It's all just about banter. It's all just about winding people up. It's obviously just for clicks, but it's incredibly damaging. Those people don't understand the power that they have, and it went on for 18 years and it still continues to go on, and I guess the shamelessness nature of the people who are these talking heads. It's especially the TalkSport generation, to be honest. That they're the loudest, they're the most obnoxious, they're the I was going to say the thickest. It's not thick. It's actually like quite smart what they do. Like they do it for clicks, but it's just so shameless and it's so infantile, so childish, and they don't understand like what they're actually doing to sport fandom in this country and cultural institutions. It's really sad.
Well, I hope. I mean, that if the regulation goes through, and there's no guarantee at this stage that it will do in this Parliament before the government changes at some point this year, that I hope like the final regulator is given the power to think about not only ownership and what fit and proper is, but like whether it's okay to burden one of our institutions in this way. If it wasn't for United's commercial power, obviously, just think about the 1.5 billion that's just disappeared from the club and the mismanagement. Like, I mean, actually, they're two different things, aren't they? Right? The mismanagement's hard to regulate.
Yeah.
Like the fact they're just dumb. Like United, the dumbest club in world football, I think, given how much money we have managed to spend, despite all that money disappearing. Like, what have we got for it? Like nothing.
Nothing.
Especially over the last 10 years. Yeah, nothing. But so it's hard to regulate that bit, but you can certainly go, well, there are constraints on leverage buyouts.
Yeah.
Put a bond or something. You have to, as an owner, you have to put some money down, right? I mean, for sure, you can just draw a line through state bits. I mean, I think it's totally unacceptable that this has been allowed. I mean, we had Adam Crafton did some more reporting last week. Yeah, he's just such a good. I'm not blowing smoke up his ass because he's a United fan, but he's such a good reporter and covering these issues. Yeah. And I uncovered that a Newcastle chairman is being sued by a former member of the Saudi government. If you remember, there was the purge 5 years ago or so now, where Mohammed bin Salman, now the de facto leader of Saudi Arabia, had all his political rivals locked up in a hotel, and then quite a lot of people got disappeared. So, and then one of the families are suing. And through that litigation process, we're going to find out a lot about just how close Newcastle's chairman, PIF leader, is to bin Salman, and we know they are. Right? He's his right-hand man, the hatchet man. And why is that allowed? And we literally have murderers in charge of a football club in the Premier League, and the Premier League's, yeah, well, it's all right then.
Yeah, just money talks.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it. Like, basically, the rules of Premier League are taken up now, until the regulator comes in, if it comes in, is, well, unless you're on the sanctions list, and the sanctions list is a political list, then you're all right. So, as long as they're not aligned to Putin, Kim Jong-il, the Iranians, or the Syrians...
Yeah, or the Houthis.
Or the Cubans, then it's all right.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so crazy. I mean, at least, though, that, like... The Saudis have some nous about them, like in terms of like actually like wanting to run a football club or like having like political kind of like connections and stuff. Our guys, they didn't even do that. There was no like briefing, like their briefing like was so bad. Like they didn't even like give a shit about their like image. They didn't have like political connections and stuff. Like our guys were just rubbish at everything. Like they were rubbish at running the football club, but they were rubbish at all the other like political stuff that goes around it, all the bureaucratic stuff that surrounds the actual managing of reputation and all that kind of stuff. Like it's just a bunch of idiots, basically.
Oh yeah, and the problem is that might not change. So we're going to have football operations are different, but the commercial side of the club is still going to be run by the Glazers. Yeah, and the revenue goes up, but so do the costs. And yeah, as I said, United have lost more than 200 million over the last couple of years. So it's not like they're even doing a good job on the bit of the club that they're going to continue owning. We just got to hope that what is strongly indicated in the previous bid document, the transaction agreement, comes to pass, which I suspect that at some point between 18 months and 3 years out, that Ratcliffe will take full control of the club. And then it's up to him. But before then, there won't be any pay down of the debt or anything like that, because why would Ratcliffe as a minority shareholder start doing that? It doesn't make any sense at all. But let's hope 18 months to 3 years, he's able to take over the club. This is a vanity project for him, legacy project, dick extension, whatever you want to call it. Like, honestly, it's the best kind of owner, and he's wealthy enough to put United right to United. Now, whether they make the right decisions or not, we'll see. We'll see.
Like I said before on the show, it's good that he's had, I mean, with all respect to Nice, a sandbox to work with. I guess Nice is also by the sand, so that kind of analogy works a little, the metaphor kind of works a little bit. But like he's had an opportunity to try it, not with a club like Man United, but still a club in a top league, with a club who have a very ferocious and fan base. They're very passionate down in Nice, and it's a good historic club. Like, it's great that he's had the opportunity to try out everything with them, and this season it's actually working out quite nicely. So I think there's definitely some enthusiasm, some optimism to be had about what's going to happen. Fingers crossed it doesn't just go the United way, but it's nice to actually feel like actually something might happen, rather than just being in this kind of death spiral type of thing that we've spoken about before. Yeah.
All right. Before we go, should we take some questions? I mean, some of them will cover similar ground, so we may skip a few, but there's a couple on that. Well, they're broadly financials, ownership, and then others. Ten Hag, and then
lots
others.
of Ten Hag ones,
have to skip through a few of the ownership ones. Yeah. Financials. Miles Bailey says, can you team up with Kieran Maguire to do a full analysis of first quarter results? No, sorry. I didn't reach out to him, but I'm fairly used to reading the various SEC documents, and you can go look on the IRs if you want to read yourself, or Kieran actually put some good analysis out on his Twitter. Glacier says, given the need to raise quick cash, the state of the current squad, and talk of some big players potentially leaving, how many of the players in the current squad do you think we could sell without really weakening the starting 11? Quick cash. I don't think there is. I don't know. We were going to talk about transfers, but maybe that's a good segue into talking about transfers. I don't think Varane or Casemiro are leaving, because the Saudi are not going to be doing big spending this winter. They're changing their rules. I think I mentioned on the last pod, so they can go from 8 to 10 foreigners per squad. So there's a better window in the summer to do that. No one else could afford, at their age and intermittent fitness, and no one else could afford these guys. So, they'll definitely look to get rid of those two, I think, in the summer. Apart from that, it's younger players that United historically been reluctant to get rid of, but I think they're going to be trying to sell a few of the younger players now. We just won't be getting City fees because there's no success associated with the club. Mm-hmm. City can sell a reserve player for 20 million. We are going to be doing much less than that. So, but Hannibal has gone to Sevilla this week on loan with an option at 20 million euros. So something
we should still be exploring the option of getting rid of Maguire and McTominay in the summer as well, though. Like there was,
I think so.
There's rumours, I think, over the past couple of days that the Ten Hag's still trying to flog Maguire, and despite them both improving this season, in terms of the question, without really weakening the starting 11, getting rid of those two doesn't, not our best team. I think back in the day, McTominay would have been a nice player to just have as a player who comes off the bench, knows the club, the Darren Fletcher, John O'Shea type of player. But I think with the position that we're in as a football club right now, I think it makes sense for him to go. He has got some value. He has played well this season, so he should be kind of sought after, and people will spend money. In the same way as Maguire looked like he's come back to not maybe his best, but he looks like a capable Premier League footballer, and therefore will have value. So I think those two are just two obvious shouts who've, in my opinion, still got to go because they're not good enough for what we should be aspiring to, and as a football club.
I think that's fair enough. It's not going to happen this January. No. It's younger players they're going to try and get rid of this January. But in the summer, I think that's a fair enough shout. Both have value. Maguire's wage is obviously a bit of a problem, but less so with McTominay. I still haven't forgiven him for missing that header.
Oh my God.
It's Spurs. Unbelievable. One job.
Such a beautiful ball from Garnacho. He just has that ability, doesn't he? He's such a great crusher of the ball.
Just 6 yards out, Scott. And yes, brilliant ball from Garnacho. Okay, let's take a few more questions. Stretford Ender Rising, friend of the show, says, Who do you think was behind the AI creation of Sheikh Jassim? Yeah. It feels like it, doesn't it? Has anyone actually seen him in real life? Candidate Collars say, oh no, I've done this one. Jared Kyle says, can you explain how the Class A shareholders affected this process and the outcome? Did they play a big role in what Ineos could do in this deal? Well, I think it's the other way around. It was, as I kind of briefly mentioned earlier, it was how the Glazers saw it. So I think they were, although they don't specifically say this, it was clear from the 4 bids that Ineos made, or Trawlers Limited made, that the Glazers would not countenance a different offer for A and B shareholders. So they were clearly advised that litigation could come, or some of the, like Lindsell Train and a few of the other private equity firms that owned part of the 31% that was publicly floated, maybe have indicated that unless they got the same offer, they were willing to litigate this. So, and look, there's precedent to say that they can be treated differently. Like Google, for example, have sold off some of their B shares, the owners there. But I think the general idea is that all shareholders should be treated equally. It's just, it says in United's Articles of Association that they won't necessarily be. So, I don't know. It doesn't matter. It did affect it anyway, so it's a fair question. Alex, ATM 1988, says, are you surprised what we knew all along about Qatar has proven to be true? Thing is, I don't know. I don't know whether I agree with the premise. I think what we believed, or at least what I believed, that it was a state bid because of the nature of the politics in that country. I can't square the idea that a state bid from a petro state with a massive sovereign wealth fund didn't come up with the money. So,
that's really weird.
Anthony says, there's talk Ineos want to be competitive on the pitch and ruthless to achieve that, which personally I would welcome. However, with United still in a shit ton of debt, can we afford to take a hit on unwanted players, which the Glazers have notoriously been unwilling to do? I think they will. I think they just said that there will be a clearing of the decks. They'll get whatever value they can from players that are underperforming, because why continue to flog that dead horse? And they will try and secure a budget. But it's definitely going to be tight, for sure, because it's just tight. I mean, United are not making money. So this does affect what United can do. The other thing is, although the rolling 3-year period looks really bad, the rules are going to change again, and it's almost certain that the Premier League is going to move to a UEFA-style squad cost rule, which doesn't make it easier for United at all, but we do have a very large amount of revenue that you can then put to work. So I don't envy Ratcliffe, Brailsford, John Paul Blanc, whoever's involved, finally, the job they're going to have to do, because it's a tough one. Yeah. All right. Here's one for you, Tom. Afzal says, are you ready for another decade of upheaval on and off the pitch and off the field and mediocrity on it?
Enjoy that question. I think that yes, in a certain way. I've been trying to really work on my mental health. So yeah, meditation, self-help books. I'm ready for it, man. Bring it on. I think that's the only way to get through it. Jesus, it's going to be. Yeah, I don't know. I spoke about it, obviously, having a little bit of optimism and enthusiasm about potentially where United could go. So you never know. But I mean, I think it's getting ready for that, getting down in the bunker and getting ready for the 10 years. Yeah. Why not? Get some books with you.
We'll see. I mean, food. I have some hope. Hope. Yeah, exactly. Mental health, healthy food, bit of meditation, do some yoga, just chill out.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I went in India as well. I went on it. Oh my God, I was such a middle class white Westerner going to some retreat when I was in India. But honestly, that's where everyone should go if they want to feel better about United. It was bliss. And I think, yeah, maybe we could bring our own. I think they call it a sangha, where you kind of bring loads of in the Buddhist religion and culture, they call it a sangha, where you bring in loads of like-minded people together and you sit together, you pray together, you chant together. And we could do that for United. That could be like a support group, but a sangha one, which would be more more to trying to calm down, get all our hearts together. We'd all be able to chant United songs. Yeah, we could. Yeah, all talk about our problems together. All talk about our United problems together. It's actually a good idea, to be honest.
Next time I'm back in the UK, maybe we should do a meet-up and we can get some people together. I've been to India a few times actually, but only ever to Delhi, and that is not a relaxing place.
Yes.
So it's incredible, but not relaxing.
Yes, I've heard a lot of things about Delhi. Some of them good, some of them maybe shit, some of them maybe good.
Just my biggest tip for anyone who goes, like just for your own sanity, if you have to take a car anywhere, which you will. Just close your eyes. It's just better not to look out the window because it's just terrifying.
I did say that to the taxi driver when I was over there. I was like, I'd have to take a new test to drive here. Like, you'd have no idea how to do it. Like, you can't rent a car when you go to India. Like, if you go to, like, I don't know, to Amsterdam or to Germany, you can rent a car. You can't rent a car when you go to India because you come back in like 3 pieces.
Yeah, you would. I mean, if you check, well, especially in Delhi, every taxi looks the same. So whether you order the Uber Black or the cheapest version or just get one off the street and hail it, they look like someone's taken a baseball bat and just smashed the shit out. It's just incredible. Yeah, amazing place. I do recommend everyone goes there. But yeah, the driving is interesting. All right, let's get on to some other stuff. Since we're well over time, I suppose. George Ellis says, would you forfeit this season to give Ten Hag another summer window under new management, or better let him loose if results don't improve and start with somebody new in the summer? Which I think is a fair question on everyone's mind at the moment, including, I suspect, the Ineos crew, who won't make the change now, but they'll leave it to the summer, and we'll see whether with players back after injury, Ten Hag can get an uptick in performances.
My confidence in Ten Hag is maybe this will come back to haunt me, but my confidence in Ten Hag is gone. I think it's really gone now. I think in terms of like 3 different threads, like player development, like we've not seen anything. Everyone's gone backwards this season. We thought like, oh, Ten Hag has got the best out of Rashford last season. He would get the best out of Sancho. Blah blah blah. Nothing like that's come. Like the tactics on the pitch, like we've spoken about it at length, ad nauseum. Like there's no defined style. You can't change a game from the bench. Like it's really worrying that like we can't control the game against really poor sides. His ability to see a footballer and judge a footballer is so worrying. I know he shouldn't be buying players in the way that he has had to, in the way that because our recruitment team has been so bad, but his like faith in players who he's seen on a day-to-day basis, like Anthony, Amrabat, might have been 5 years ago, it might have been in the past year. His faith in those types of players to be able to cut it in the Premier League, that says so much about him, in my opinion. And then there's also like
really does,
the management, which just doesn't seem to be very good.
Subtle.
Like, and he also, it feels like he's like Mourinho-ing, like he's getting more and more aggy at people. He's lashing out, and it's, I don't know. There's so few signs there for me, like at this stage, that he's going to be the man. And yeah, I mean, I would probably cut him loose at this point, but like there's very little option out there to replace him with. I don't think that whatever happens in the summer, Ten Hag is going to get the best out of United next season, and he's an elite manager. There's too many cons in from what I've seen so far to classify Ten Hag as elite. And yeah, he was great. He was great in a pragmatistic way last season, but a manager to win the Premier League has to be better than that, and I don't think you win the league on pragmatism alone these days.
No, time's moved on from that. I mean, I thought we were getting a coach, not exactly in the fully Dutch style, Ajax, Barcelona, that kind of, what was total football became tiki-taka, but a more possession-dominant style, and we haven't had that this season. He's just given up on it, and of course he's not had, especially in midfield, he's had a lot of problems there, and perhaps not had the players in order to do that. But yeah, I've been surprised about like how much United have regressed this season. So I'd be looking for a massive uptick in results and before the summer. And then there's Robert says, if not ETH, then who? And I don't know exactly, but I would say, if you look at what Ineos have learned over their 5 years at owning Nice, They went from Galtier and a few others to a much younger coach and started buying younger players as well. And I wonder if that's not the template they'll end up following. And I'm not to say, like, I don't know who that is. Maybe they go for a younger coach in the Premier League. I mean, De Zerbi's an obvious one. It's a big lift to go from Brighton to United. Very different environment. But, like, who knows? I haven't got an answer for that one, but I wonder whether that's just an indicator of what they might be thinking.
I've got a name for you.
But we'll see.
I haven't even seen linked to United's job, and that's probably because of his Liverpool past. But what about Xabi Alonso?
Well, there were reports a little while ago, but yeah, he's doing a fantastic job at Leverkusen. Fantastic.
I mean, everyone's saying that he's going to be the successor to Klopp type of thing, and it makes sense that does. But I think
make him say no.
Yeah, like I think it just makes sense to just go for him. Like there are few options. Like there aren't that many names that shout out at you. I think like if you kind of look at the big ones, say like Zidane, like no way. Like Nagelsmann was one who I thought for a bit like might be like a good one. You're already kind of running out of options. Like you say, De Zerbi might be, but it's like you say, a huge step up, and he's never managed at such a big club like that. But then you see like the job that Xabi Alonso is doing at Leverkusen, the style of football they play, his man management seems to be so good, and he's also got this passion which is so important. Like Premier League managers and almost every manager apart from probably Ancelotti, but his personality style really suits Real Madrid. Every other kind of manager in world football, the best ones, all have this intensity, this burning intensity, and he has the same thing. It's almost like this Basque style of intensity, and the Basque managers that right now are absolutely flying. I mean, I can imagine like some people would turn their nose up because he's like an ex-Liverpool man, and would he actually come to United? But he's not going to turn a United job down, surely. Like, I'd go all out to get him.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting shout. He does have charisma as well, and I think we should learn something about that. I mean, obviously, you want the full package, don't you? But at United, the lack of charisma in Ten Hag is like there's many things. His judgment of players, shockingly poor. Honestly, just shockingly poor. He should not be allowed to pick his own transfers anymore, and I don't think will be. His man management, like, they needed someone to sort out the cultural problems, but he's 100% draconian 100% of the time, and I'm not sure that has worked either. Fergie knew when to put an arm around the shoulder and when to beat someone up. Literally, in some cases, Bex. And then... So yeah, and then the tactical stuff. I mean, we've seen this season, as soon as he was under pressure, like some weird choices. Yeah. We should move on, but there are a bunch of other questions. 90s Suit asked about responding to in-game changes. Raymond Pine said, Eric Ten Hag's in-game management, why? Yeah. Yeah, good. Herbert Mark Hughes says, if Ten Hag is getting grumbly about Anthony, how far are we off from a Mourinho-esque tenure-ending strop? I don't think so with Ten Hag, actually. I think he's quite level in his personality. I just think there's not much personality.
I think he also...
Puck _ the bus.
I think he also knows that, like, whereas Mourinho had a lot of success in a previous time and he knew he would get a big job after that, like, I don't think if Ten Hag threw his toys out the pram, he's not getting a big job after that. So I think he kind of knows his level. He's humble enough to not go absolutely crazy.
Yeah. All right. Sorry if we didn't get to all your questions, but to do an hour, let's cover the left field questions before we wrap this up, Tom. Andy McCoy says, which is stranger, Henderson ruining his reputation for nothing, which is true, literally nothing. He's not going to get paid for his 6 months in Saudi. Didn't like the luxury compound, apparently. Or Gerrard getting a 2-year extension for not winning any games of football. Yeah, I know. And I mean, I have zero sympathy for Jordan Henderson.
Oh, my God, no.
He pretended to be an ally, and then he went for the money. And then he didn't hack it. He didn't like it, playing in a shitty mid-table team, so probably at about League 2 level, basically. and didn't like living in a compound. So, I mean, fuck him.
I just don't know how he didn't foresee this coming. Like, what did he think was going to happen? Seriously. Like, did he do any research before he went? Like, it's just so daft. Like, it's just a hilarious episode. It's a shame he's gone to a club as great as Ajax, to be honest. I know Ajax haven't been doing great this season, but like, it's a shame he's got like a get out of jail free card in that. I know, well,
yeah,
I guess get out of jail free is kind of apt, seeing as he's doing it for free, but
yeah. Well, he's only doing it for free because he didn't want to get a big tax bill because he hadn't spent enough time as a non-dom. So let's not pretend he's like somehow out the charity of his heart, not taking a wage. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, I suppose in theory, like some of the Barcelona players having deferred, he's still contractually owed money. It just seems like he's forfeited about £4 million in order to make this transfer happen. Whatever. I have zero sympathy for him.
No.
I know quite a lot of non-doms or expats across the Middle East. And it is a very particular lifestyle. There's differences between UAE and Bahrain and Qatar and Saudi, obviously. But the idea that as a well-paid expat, you live in a sort of expat compound with servants and a pool and all of that kind of, there's a certain kind of lifestyle, and it's not the same, basically. Yeah, it reminds me of like Ian Rush when he went to Juventus and that famous quote, which may be apocryphal, but apparently he said, yeah, it was like living in a foreign country. All right, Jordan. Simon Hunter says, new stadium or renovation? Yeah, I mean, this is my thoughts on it. Are there's two questions at play. One is the emotional one. So United's attachment to Old Trafford. It's been our home for more than a century, on and off, given that we're obviously away from the ground after the war. But there's not much left of the original. So that's the question. And then there's the financial one. Obviously, it costs a lot of money to build a stadium, but you can finance that. And it doesn't count towards FFP, except if you do what Everton did and try and pretend that planning is a capitalization cost, which it fucking is not. Everton fans bleating about that. Just learn some accounting. And then the revenue can drive from it. If you look at what Spurs have done with their new stadium. So I don't know whether a refurbishment will drive significant new revenue. I mean, you can put another 10,000 seats on there. It's going to cost a few $100 million to do that. The difficulties of building on the South Stand. I don't know whether it drives enough revenue to justify it. Now, obviously, Ratcliffe is not thinking about this in purely revenue terms, but the club kind of needs to in order to benefit from it. So I think the most sensible decision would be to just build a brand new stadium, 90, 100,000, all the facilities, stupid exec facilities so you can charge people ridiculous amounts and charge lower fees for everyday fans. That's probably the most sensible. Obviously, the emotional one is who really wants to knock down Old Trafford and be away from that. So that's my feeling on it anyway.
Yeah, it would be so sad. It would be so sad to see it go. I know, like you say, you put like forward the rational reasons there, but like, yeah, I think just even looking at it on TV and also being there is, I don't know, having been there so often and since such a young age, it would be so sad to see it go. And I can see why, like just thinking about it now, I can see why so many West Ham fans down the years, like when Upton Park went and when Arsenal lost Highbury, like why they were so sad when it went, because it can be if the new stadium isn't done well, like in the way of West Ham and especially the first few years of the Emirates, those new stadiums do and can become very soulless places. Tottenham have done it fantastically. Like they've done everything right in that. It cost them it feels like it cost them loads of money, but they have that one stand is superb, but the atmosphere there is amazing. They obviously have the NFL link, so they can bring in more money in that respect. They've done it really well, but if you do it badly, you could lose an incredible meeting place, like a religious venue almost, and you could replace it with something that has no heart at all, in the same way as like West Ham have done. Like, so you have to do it right, you have to do it well, and that would be my big fear, because Old Trafford is a special place, and the look and feel of it is amazing. It's so unique in the way it looks, and that's another thing when you build like these new stadiums, like the Emirates Stadium. I've seen about 6 or 7 types of that. I've been to like 3 or 4 versions of that around the world. Like the Stadio de Luz in the Benfica one is exactly like a carbon copy of that, or Emirates was a carbon copy, whatever came first. So you have to do it right. You have to make it unique for it to be for them to get the new stadium right, I think.
That's right. I mean, there are quite a lot of new stadiums are soulless. Wembley's horrible. Many, Emirates is horrible. I've been there. I just hate it. Yeah. Highbury, I mean, I don't want to praise Arsenal at all, but Highbury was special.
It's that close to the pitch feel, which so many of the old grounds have. Like Everton as well. Like, I'd be worried if I was an Everton fan, because Goodison has that you're on top of the players type feel. It's that old-fashioned style is so awesome. And in the same way as United.
So was White Hart Lane.
Yeah, exactly.
White Hart Lane was like that as well. You're right on top of things, and their concourses were really narrow, like almost body width in some places at White Hart Lane, and they've done it right. But a lot of stadiums aren't. I mean, I've been to a lot of stadiums over here in the US, and what you tend to get wide concourses with a lot of facilities, and they don't have to be sort of luxury facilities. They're just things like it's easy to get food and beer, and that kind of stuff is nice. And it's not easy at Old Trafford. You can obviously queue for a long time, and the toilets don't work and all of that kind of stuff. So, like, the emotional side, I'm a fan. All right, I don't want to see Old Trafford go. If I was looking at it just from a financing point of view, the most sensible thing, I think, would be to build a new stadium. There's plenty of land. United own loads of land. There is room to put a new stadium basically right next door. And so we'll see where Ineos go with this one. He's a fan as well, right?
Yeah.
More or less extent. He's from Failsworth, and so I wonder whether the emotional resonance of just revamping Old Trafford, which will take a fair bit of money, but extending, revamping will be what happens. I just wonder whether, like, financially, it makes more sense to build a new one. Anyway, all right, couple of last ones before we go. One for Tom. Are there any good? This is Remington Moses says. Are there any good young Hungarian players that Ineos should be looking at?
I think Zolan Voce would be the one. Like, he's by far the best Hungarian talent, but unfortunately, he's owned by the City Football Group, which is great. Yeah. So he's at Lommel in Belgium at the moment. He's linked to go to Girona, which is also part of the City Football Group. So he's another one. He's the top talent. There's also Jakob Ishvili, which is kind of a Georgian name, but he's Hungarian. He's also in the City Football Group. Played for Girona. So that's the most annoying thing, is the two kind of big talents in Hungarian football are there. And Christian Listes is going to Frankfurt next season. He's decent. And also Milos Kerkez, who's at Bournemouth. I'd have loved United to have signed him in the summer. Like, he would have been, I think Bournemouth signed him for something like 15 million. Left back is so electric going forward. He's only 20 years old, and he's taken to the Premier League pretty well. It's the signing that United would never make. Like, as in, like, we never kind of make that 19, 20-year-old who's going to break into the team. But he'd have been perfect, especially with our left-back problems. He's not amazing defensively, but he's great going forward, and it'll end up at a big club. I think he'll probably end up at Liverpool alongside Szoboszlai in time. He's that good.
All right.
I know Klopp loves him, so that's, It basically...
well, Szoboszlai would have solved some midfield problems.
Yeah, all the Hungarians just end up at going to end up at rival clubs. Well, what can you do?
Well, now we're part of a multi-club ownership group.
That's true.
Are we the junior party? Because it's only a 25% or 20. It'll be 28 and a bit % ownership. Yeah, so we've got Nice, RC Lausanne, and RC Abidjan. Which I think is not owned by Ineos, just a sponsorship and partnership, whatever that means. So it's a bit hard to understand that one. Last one. Remington Moses again. Why do you get 2 questions, Remington? But you've got in here now. Why are our players so incapable of changing style? They do it for a while and stop. LVG just passed. Rangnick pressed. ETH shows signs last year at times. Brighton could do it. Spurs, Villa, Bournemouth, for fuck's sake. But we're still effectively a counter-attacking team. Yes, it seems to be in the DNA of this. I mean, I think part of it's like, if you think about our creative hub, is Bruno. He is, by the way, still the leading chance creation engine in the Premier League. He's still top of that. Shot creating actions. I think it's because he's a chaos merchant, and so is Marcus Rashford, and so to a slightly lesser extent is Garnacho, and so is Casemiro, even if he's not been fit, and so is Scott McTominay. Right? There's so few of these players who are calm possession-based footballers who fit into that kind of style that you mentioned there. So I think that's it. We've just got a bunch of chaos merchants, and you're going to have to revamp the squad if you want a possession-dominant team.
Yeah, I think that's perfect, and I also think Bruno, like you said, creates so many chances. He's our best player. He's phenomenal at times, but would you put him in any of the teams in the top 4 in the Prem? Like, he would easily get in them, but I don't know if he fits into their style, and I think he kind of creates a lot of problems. I think you'd have to really work on his discipline as a footballer. You'd also need to work on the fact that he tries Hollywood passes all the time. You'd need to kind of constrain him a little bit, like City did with Jack Grealish, to fit him into your side. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Whereas it's just a lot easier if you're a manager to go, yeah, fuck it, Bruno, you try and do everything, and then we'll just build the team around you, which I think, I'm not saying the team is completely built around Bruno, but when you have your best player who is a chaos merchant like that, it's hard to bring the stability and the control around that, which, yeah.
All right, good point on which to end. Backers, I've had COVID, so I haven't quite sorted out my conversation on the AFCON, which I was planning to do. So that will come at some point this week. Stay tuned for that in the Backers feed. Everyone else, thank you very much for listening. You can find Tom at Thomas Mortimer on Twitter. You can find me at NQAT Pod. We're on YouTube as well, if you like to see our beautiful faces. Thank you very much for listening. We'll catch you again soon.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.